Hi everyone, welcome back to Business English Writing. And today we got a doozy of a lesson for you. This lesson is one of the best lessons that you can learn while writing in a business situation because it's about how to be diplomatic. Of course, when you're in a business situation, you want to be diplomatic. And this means this is language that doesn't offend people. In any business situation and in life in general, you don't want to offend people. So we're going to find out how to use language, how to use certain words to kind of change negative things into positive things or make something a little more friendlier, more diplomatic. First thing is, the easiest part of this lesson is to use non-threatening or non-confrontational language. How do you do that? Use please or thank you. Of course, the easiest things, right? Let's take a look at this example. It's unfortunate that we will no longer be working together. Negative news. But I appreciate the time you were here in our office. I appreciate the time. Thank you very much. Another one. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us last week. Another one. Thank you for your hard work. Of course, all of these you're gonna use thank you whenever possible. This is the same in any culture or language. Use thank you as much as you can. Next one is please. Please is what they call the magic word in English. In English, they say please can get you a lot of things, right? Let's take a look at a couple of examples here. First one, the conference starts at 11 a.m. tomorrow. Pretty clear, pretty direct. But instead of this, just saying, please remember the conference starts at 11 a.m. tomorrow. This kind of adds just a little extra niceness to it. Another example we have here is leave the report on my desk before you leave today. It's a command, very straightforward, and it can kind of seem a little rude if you don't add please. So that's what we're going to do here. Please leave the report on my desk before you leave today. It's a little nicer. Or, of course, you can combine please and thank you. Please leave the report on my desk before you leave today. Thank you. A lot nicer. And instead of a direct command saying please leave the report, you could be a little nicer. Please don't forget to leave the report on my desk before you leave today. Thanks. It's a lot more casual. Don't forget to use please. Next one. Now we're going to really focus on word choice. This is when you take, you want to pick the best words for a more positive experience, a more diplomatic experience. But sometimes you could also use negative words. Negative words are used to be clear, direct, and strong. Positive words are to be more diplomatic. Let's take a look at this example. Our sales department failed to meet its target goal. Failed here is a negative word. So instead of that, you want to change it to a more positive way of saying it. Our sales department was unable to meet its target goal. Instead of now saying failed, you say unable to meet. It sounds a lot nicer to the ears. It's not as blaming. We failed. You say it's unfortunate. Let's take a look at another example. The marketing team has poor teamwork. Now that's pretty direct. That's pretty direct. Instead of that, you want to say the marketing team should improve its teamwork. It sounds a lot better, but maybe you've talked to the marketing team many times and you really want to get the point across. That's when you should use the negative language. The marketing team has poor teamwork. Maybe you should blame them. It really depends on the situation. Most of the time, try to use positive language though. Next example. I wouldn't ask John to take on this task. He's lazy. Maybe it's true. Maybe he is lazy, but that's very, very direct. Instead of saying, I wouldn't ask John, that's a negative way of saying, I don't want to ask John. Here's a positive way to say it. I might reconsider asking John to take on this task. Instead of I wouldn't, I might reconsider. Another one, instead of saying he's lazy, you can say he works at a slower pace than others. Again, you're being diplomatic and you're using more positive language to not hurt anyone's feelings. Let's take a look at the next one. We can use the negative versions of positive words. We could use no or not and use a positive word. Let's take a look at this example. Our email campaign initiative was a failure. Again, failure is a negative word. What's the positive version? Our email campaign initiative was not successful. Here, it sounds a lot nicer to say it was not successful. Another example, we opposed the manager's idea. Opposed is we're against it. That's a negative word. Instead, we could say we weren't in favor of the manager's idea. In favor, it sounds more positive. It sounds a lot more diplomatic. Another example, I think that's a bad idea. Bad idea? That's pretty straightforward, pretty negative. You shouldn't say that. That's a bad idea, right? That's pretty direct. Instead of that, you could say, I don't think that's such a great idea. Great idea, it sounds nicer, but you're saying, I don't think it's such a great idea. Another example is your negative attitude is becoming a problem for team morale. Here, we focus on negative and a problem. Again, change it to the positive version. You might consider taking a more positive attitude to improve team morale. Again, we want to take the negative words and use the positive version to make it sound more diplomatic. But another way you can add a little more diplomacy to words is to add phrases of doubt. Here, for example, I wonder, I'm not sure, I'm not completely sure. These words make it not 100%. And if you're being negative, it feels a lot better to not be 100%. What I mean by that is this. Let's take a look at this example. I think that's a bad idea. Again, we said this was a negative word. We want to change that to a more positive version. I wonder if that's a good idea. Or, I'm not sure that's a good idea. Or, I'm not completely sure if that's the best idea. Again, here's another example. We opposed the manager's idea. Again, we wondered if the manager's idea would be effective. Here, you got to change the language a little bit, add the word effective, but now instead of being so direct and clear, not a good idea, you're saying, I'm not sure, I wonder if. You could also add phrases of hope or desire. But one thing you want to avoid is the word I want. I want is actually very direct. It's like, please give me that. So instead of that, let's look at this example. I want you to file this with the tax office by tomorrow. Usually, if you want to be direct, that's fine. That's okay. But a more softer way is to say, I'd like for you to file this with the tax office by tomorrow. Or you could also say, I hope you can file this with the tax office by tomorrow. Or you could use hopefully you can file this with the tax office by tomorrow. Sometimes it's okay to use I want you to if you want to be direct. Maybe it's a pretty urgent command. I want you to file this by tomorrow. Then in that situation, it's fine. But if you want to be a little nicer, create a more softer tone, you could say, hopefully you can, or I'd like for you to. Now, we're moving on to modals here. Modals are a certain function in grammar. These are words like can, or could, or would, or may. All you have to do is use these modals with a verb. It's very, very common in business English writing to use these modals, can, could, would. The language, anything too direct or too strong, if you want to soften it, you could use can, could, would. Let's look at this example. Send the samples as soon as possible. Again, pretty direct. If a boss told me that, I'd be, okay, fine, I'll send the samples, but I wouldn't feel good about it. Instead, if I heard, can you send the samples as soon as possible? That's a lot softer, and I would say, yes, I can. Another way you could say that is, could you send the samples as soon as possible? And of course, if you add please, it's a lot better. Could you please send the samples as soon as possible? Again, these are actually commands, but they're hidden inside a question, which makes me feel a lot better to send the samples. Could you please? Yes, I can. Yes, sir. Here's another example. Please check columns 2 and 3 and send me the updated section soon. Pretty direct. Again, we have the word please in there, but if you add could, it sounds nicer. Could you please check columns 2 and 3 to make sure that there's no errors? Yes? Or would you please check columns 2 and 3 to make sure there are no errors? That makes it feel a lot better, a lot smoother, a lot nicer. And I want to volunteer my services in that situation. Another example. Finish the project by January 3rd. Wow, really? Finish it. It's pretty direct. Instead of that, can you finish the project by January 3rd? That's a lot nicer. Or, could you finish the project by January 3rd? Could you please finish the project by January 3rd? Again, these are questions. It makes me feel like I want to say, yes, I can. We're putting a positive spin on these commands. Next, we have phrases of gratitude. It's always nice when you say thank you. But here, if you want to give a command, you can add a phrase of gratitude to make it sound a lot nicer. Here's a couple of them. I'd be grateful if, or I'd appreciate if. Basically, it's just saying I would be thankful if. Let's take a look at this example. Finish the project by January 3rd. Very clear, direct. Instead of that, I'd be grateful if you could finish the project by January 3rd. Here, what we did is we added the gratitude, grateful, and if you could finish. Double diplomacy. Super nice, super kind, and I want to say yes. Same thing, I'd appreciate if you could finish the project by January 3rd, doubling up on being nice and soft, and if you're giving a command that really helps a lot in the office place. Next one, we have phrases of possibility. It's pretty similar to phrases of gratitude, but here you're saying if, or if possible, or if you could. Would it be possible? These are not 100%, which leaves a little bit of room for feelings. We're humans, right? We need feelings. We want to feel good about it, right? If it's 100%, finish this project by January 3rd. It feels like there's no room in there for my feelings. So instead of that, we could say, would it be possible for you to finish the project by January 3rd? Again, my feeling is yes, it would be possible. Or, if possible, please finish the project by January 3rd. Here, it's not a question, but it's asking if it's possible. Another version is, if you could finish the project by January 3rd, I'd be grateful. Again, same thing. If you could finish the project by January 3rd, that would be great. Now here, what we're doing is we're finishing the command with a positive statement in a possibility. We're adding all these layers of diplomacy in there, and it's gonna make you feel great. Let's take a look at another example. I want you to fix the copy machine today. And it's a really direct command that I want it, but instead we want to leave some room. I hope you can fix the copy machine by the end of the day. Here we're using a phrase of hope. Next we'll use a phrase of desire. I'd like for you to fix the copy machine. Again, gratitude. I'd be grateful if you could fix the copy machine. I'd appreciate if you could fix the copy machine. And we have possibility here. Would it be possible to fix the copy machine? Last one is the modal. Could you fix the copy machine today? So hope, desire, possibility, and modals. You could use any of these to make someone feel a lot nicer. about doing something. Usually these are for commands. Okay, bye.